So I'd like to invite my guests on stage. Sean Gunn and Natasha Halevi. Please come on stage, guys. Round of applause. How are you guys? How are you hanging?
Doing well. I like this this like talk show layout that we've got. It's
Really?
nice.
Because I'm personally not a fan of it because I'm really far away from you. Like I'd rather sit like over here, you know?
Great.
Natasha, I'm very sorry. What's the correct way to pronounce your surname? Is it Halevi or?
You did it. You did it. It was the most beautiful pronunciation I've ever heard. Actually.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And a name and surname related question to Sean. How often do you get mixed up with James?
Well, only by my mother generally. But
Only by your mother.
No, I you know, sometimes I get it. But it's usually, I think most of the fans who know a little more can tell the difference.
All right, all right. I was expecting you to be 3'2", but apparently you're a bit taller.
Oh no, I just have to I have to crouch down to that height. But I'm retired from that anyway.
So the topic of today is, as it is written on right there on the screen, balancing act, right? Navigating marriage and careers in Hollywood. That is our topic for today. So let's start off.
Easy.
Sorry?
Marriage is easy.
So we can just close off this whole discussion. It's easy. It's pretty easy. It's okay. Basically, like, how do you both coordinate your schedules to ensure that you both have time together despite the demand of your respective careers, let's say? Because as I understand, sorry, just some context to the question, I guess. As I understand, like Hollywood movies, that's as I understand, that should be like a pretty ferocious schedule in general, right? So, like, how do you coordinate your schedules to have, I guess, like to have some spare time, to have time to relax, to have some hobbies maybe even, and yeah, especially like to have time for one another, especially when you're both in the industry.
Well, Google Calendar is a great tool.
Life hack.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you know, when you go work on a project in the film industry, you go work for often months at a time. We actually both met because we were working for a long period of time. Sean was working on Avengers. I was working on a project for Jaguar in Atlanta, which is not where either of us live. So if it wasn't for that weird kind of scheduling, where you go live in a different place and experience a whole different city, we wouldn't even know each other. So as much as it's a tricky thing to navigate without it, maybe we would have never met, so.
Yeah, I think like being here is a good example. It was something we were able to do together. And we definitely have chunks of time where, you know, I'd been working for about 3 weeks and then you were working for a couple of weeks and we were separated for that part. But we also, you know, we make sure we try to talk almost every day if we can. But we also, you have to build in those moments when, okay, well, we can find these couple of days to make sure that we overlap, or occasionally we'll have jobs where the other can come. Like sometimes I've done a convention where it's like, okay, well, we can actually carve out 3 additional days where we can actually go do something and be together, and we're just constantly, it's long-term planning is difficult, but we do a lot of short-term, okay, over the next few months, let's map it out and see where we're going to be able to be together and when we're going to be separate, and you just make it work.
But also it can be really fun because it's like we're playing with a big giant puzzle, which is the same for everyone. You're always playing with a big puzzle your whole life, and where you're going to be, it's like this fun puzzle where you're putting the pieces in.
Just in a Google Calendar, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Yeah, but we'll end up, Sean was gone. Here's a whole world puzzle. Sean was working in South Africa. I had to get to Atlanta for a job. We were gonna miss each other at our home, but instead we were able to meet in Costa Rica because he had to work in Costa Rica and I could get a flight from Costa Rica to Atlanta and make it on time. So it's a fun puzzle. Like, that's a weird sort of thing to be like, oh, I'll just meet you in Costa Rica. But it was the only way we could see each other without going like a whole month,
Do you sort of have to go out of your way to find these, I don't know, gaps in time where you can meet, like in Costa Rica? Or?
For sure, yeah. I think you have to make it a priority, and you know the things. You know where you have to be at certain times, and that's one chunk, and then you know where you want to be at certain times, and you just make seeing each other a priority. And if I'm working for months on something and I'm separate, then we're going to build in a time when if you either can't be there or need to be somewhere else, then we'll build in a time where we'll meet at some point.
But can we bring in the most important part of this conversation that's missing right now? It's our cats.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
We have 2 cats. They don't like to meet up in places like Costa Rica. They like to stay home and sit on the bed or lay in the sun.
Yeah.
So really the most important part of scheduling is getting home to our cats as often as possible.
That's true. Yeah.
How packed, like, this is sort of a general question, like how packed is I'm sorry, I'll just refer to your, let's say, professional area as just Hollywood. So how packed is a schedule for like a Hollywood shooting, let's say, right? Like I'll try to give some context to the question. Like, do you have to like not sit in a trailer, but like do you have to stay in a certain location for like a week or a month or like a couple of weeks, and you just don't ever generally go out anywhere and see people and see each other, or no? Like how packed is a Hollywood schedule? Let's just say.
Well, it's always different as part of it. That's why the most fundamental element of the nature of our business is that it's not predictable. So there's no all jobs are different. For the most part, if you're working on, if you're acting in a project, you have to be there. And so it doesn't mean you work every day, but you got to be in the city that they're shooting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But like anything else, you get chunks of time off, or there are times when hey, there's a week here or a week there where we won't be shooting any of your scenes, and then you just can build around that. But it's always different. I mean, for something like Guardians, I'm doing.
Like I would imagine that's like a super.
I'm doing
packed
2
schedule.
characters, and it's very, very difficult for me to do anything else, because even the days I'm not working, I'm probably on call and could be working. That said, when I shot Guardians 2, I was shooting the Gilmore Girls A Year in the Life for Netflix, and they were simultaneous. So I had to just navigate.
So especially when you have like 2 projects going at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Not in the same city at all. Not in the same
that was
state.
right.
So that's
Those were in
also
2 different cities. So yeah, it's it's busy, and you make it work.
What's the longest time that you haven't seen each other because of a certain movie project? Do you remember? I imagine you have like.
It really hasn't been longer than a month, I don't think. We make sure we figure it out, but that could change at any time.
Understood. Is it an advantage?
That sounded like a threat.
Sorry? Is it an advantage to have a partner that knows and understands the industry? What are the pros and cons, let's say? I don't know.
Yes. An advantage to know so that your partner understands the industry.
Oh yeah, of course.
It's a really different way to be married, to be able to say, "I'll see you in a month," and bye.
That's an advantage, right?
Yeah, that's the advantage. No, I'm just kidding. That's not the advantage, but it is unless you understand how important it is to go be a character and be the role and be the best version of that, so that when you watch it on a screen, we all can watch it as an audience and feel something. That takes a special kind of work, you know, and having time away to dedicate to that on set and in different location, even when you go back to your hotel to work on that character, it takes space. So, you know, recently I almost traveled with Sean on a project. He just shot 4 different things back to back. It's a lot. And I was like, I can't go with him. He has to take the time with each of those characters because it's so important. If you don't take the time with it, you can't see it on the screen later. You know, you can't feel it.
I think that's the important thing, really, is that when you're with someone who's in the industry who understands what that means, as we both do. You know, the scheduling is one part of it, but you just do it. You know, it's just like you work it out, and everybody here knows what it's like to have a busy schedule, and that's part of it. But the bigger advantage, as Natasha said, is knowing sort of what it takes to be in the mindset of being an artist and what that takes out of you personally and emotionally. So it's very helpful to know what it takes to be going through this, whatever step of the process you're in, and that's true whether you're acting in something or producing or directing or whatever it is. That to know, oh, this is where my partner can use a little bit more space, needs a little bit more time to themselves and a little bit more time to focus, or this is probably a good downtime period where we can hang out a little more and spend a little more time together. But navigating that is really the best part of it.
Is there ever a time when you, in this industry specifically, is there ever a time where you, let's say, take your work home, or not really? Is the question clear? It's like if you were an accountant, right? Like you start your job at 9, you end your job at 5, and you absolutely forget it, and you go home to your cats, and it's all fine. But in this industry,
maybe it's normal if Sean comes home with a fin on his head and he whistles and a arrow flies through the house. It's no big deal. But seriously.
I think we try not to, but that's why sometimes, as Tasha was saying, it's like when I just was doing all these jobs in a row, it was helpful for me to have to be able to have more alone time than I might have normally. For just that reason, I don't want to be taking work home, but there's a certain kind of focus that is helpful or necessary to really be able to perform properly.
Part of the job as an actor is to leave your work behind, because otherwise, people play all sorts of characters, evil, bad characters, and good, wonderful characters, but you can't come home and be an evil, bad person just because you spent all day being an evil, bad character. So part of the job as an actor is to really believe and show that, so that we get to see it, and then let it go every day and then turn it on again, which is hard. It's a hard job to have real emotions about something and then turn them off and shift and be your regular self again. But it is a very important part of the job. And if you can't do that as an actor, you're probably not good at your job, because you might take home some really bad things, and that will never work for a long career.
Is there ever a situation where, I don't know, like Sean comes back from work, let's say, right, and he's like, Natasha, what should I do to elevate this particular character? Or vice versa, like, Sean, what should I do for this character to be more believable, or like something among those lines? Is there ever a situation like this, or not really?
I mean, the answer is really no. Like, we both work different, but we also do talk about and think about, how to be better at the art and be better at the craft in general. And we know when it's the right time to share our thoughts, and we know when it's the right time to keep them sort of working on our own. And I think we we both elevate each other's work, but not in so direct a way. You know, it's more like always creating the space to be able to work. So even at home, just creating the right kind of space, actual physical space to be able to, you know, work on a character.
Yeah, and I think it's also it's a little different whether it's like a role we already have as opposed to one we're still in the process of working on. Like once you're already there, you kind of are. You have it in you, and it doesn't mean that we won't, you know, occasionally talk about the work, but it's less collaborative after a point.
But if we're auditioning for something, which now, it used to be you go audition in a room. After COVID, you audition on your iPhone and you send it. So it means that we work together more on auditions. We wouldn't do that in the past. We would be working with whoever was in the room, the casting director. But now we tape together, you know, and it's really fun because part of the fun of being doing that is saying, you know, like, oh, you know, playing and having fun. It's play. And seeing what happens that's different when you make changes. So it can be really fun to say, like, I don't know, what you have any other ideas? And that can be like it's like being in a playground, you know, and just like trying to build a different type of sandcastle and asking somebody else, like, what other sandcastle should I build? But it's with emotions. Did that make sense?
So even after the pandemic, the auditions are no longer in person? You just send in the tapes?
For the most part, there's once in a blue moon, there's something in person. But for the most part, there's there's a lot of putting yourself on tape for stuff, which you do in your own home, or live Zoom sessions for auditions. But very rarely do you go in person and audition anymore, unless you get to like a screen test or something like that, which would be in person.
Okay. Have you both ever collaborated on a project?
On a project?
Yeah, like I don't know, on a movie, on a script, on anything, like on a project in the industry.
And we try to do it more. Like we're always looking for ways to continue to collaborate more on things, and we have different movie projects we've talked about of trying to pitch and do together. But I acted. Tasha made this excellent film last year called Give Me an A, which is an anthology made by 16 women directors.
All female directors,
all females,
you guys.
About the subject of reproductive rights, and I was an actor in that piece.
Really annoying to direct Sean because he does such a good job. There's like nothing to do, and you're like, I want to show off my directing, and I'm like, well, he did a good job, so we'll keep it. Moving on.
Yeah, I killed it. No. But yeah, what else have we worked on together? Oh yeah, and something I'm writing right now that I could probably talk about in a little more detail at another time. But we collaborated on that, and some things that we've rewritten that some scripts that we're still in the process of either raising money for or trying to get off the ground, and we have a budding production company with a lot of different things.
Yeah, we just opened our office.
Yeah, we did.
Just a month ago. It's very cute.
This is a pretty interesting one, I'd say. Let's say you hear about a new upcoming project and they're looking for a male or female lead. Do you ever think of it as, I should suggest my husband or wife for this? Is it hard to not to recommend the whole family just for the whole entire set to have just guns?
I mean, I see roles all the time where I think, oh, Natasha would be great for this. There's not a lot of, actors don't do a lot of recommending for roles for other things. It's hard.
Yeah, actually, sorry to interrupt you. Yeah, that would have been my next question. Like, is there ever like a recommendation thing in this industry? I guess not, right? Or do you ever recommend, like, you go to your brother, you say, James, look, that guy would be amazing for this role, or is it not? Doesn't it work like that?
I can throw that out there from time to time, but he's already he gets so deep into his own process that he's already ahead of me. It's been rare for like a bigger project that I've recommended somebody that he hasn't said already that, oh, they already auditioned or they're already putting it, like he's so on top of all of that stuff that I don't do a lot of. I tend to stay out of it with James until it's time for me to step in.
Are there ever? Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say, James does a good job already of choosing his cast, so he doesn't really need much help. He's doing a good job.
Understood. Are there ever, like, this is a pretty thin line that I have to walk here, but like, are there ever sort of allegations of, what's the word I'm looking for? Is it nepotism, I guess? When you have your brother in the industry, you're in the industry, then you sort of have, your significant other in the industry. Especially if you're collaborating on the same project, like, are there ever optics to be, are there ever negative optics to this? Does my question make any sense, or not really?
I think that sometimes you find, particularly online, you'll find people who are ready at the drop of a hat to get angry about anything.
Yeah, exactly.
And
like
so
probably some people would probably say like.
So you do find people who get upset about things like that. Honestly, I find it totally absurd. It's if you have collaborators, it doesn't matter whether you're related or not. In our business, when you have collaborators that you work with who you trust and think are talented, you should absolutely, like not only can you, but it's vital that you work with them again and continue to work on projects together. So I think it's absolutely natural, and it's obvious that my brother and I, who've been working together on creative projects literally since we were children, that as we grow in the industry, of course we're going to seek each other out to keep working on projects together. And if there's not a right fit, then we won't. I mean, I've certainly acted in tons of projects separate from my brother, and he's made projects separate. Like, Peacemaker's a great example. In the first season of Peacemaker, there was no right role for me, so I didn't do it. We work together when the fit is right. And the same would be true for Natasha. It's like when the fit is right and there's a project that creatively it makes sense for us to work together on, we'll do it. You're never going to do it at the expense of the quality of the thing. So so most of the people who complain about stuff like that, I think they don't really understand how creative collaboration works, frankly.
And I just want to add one other thing. I think, the idea of nepotism, it's fun to watch from the outside. But I worked in architecture before I worked in the entertainment industry. And I would say in architecture, not only did I have friends who I had met while working that I would bring on different projects, but we would even work at different companies together. And sometimes when you have a team, when you build a building, a lot of people are involved. You have your architect, your engineers, civil engineers, all, the interior design team, the landscape architects, and forget like the contractors and all the there's so many people. And when you work on one building and it goes well, you invite those people back to work on a building again. So there's something that's like similar to that in many, many industries, that when you collaborate, and architecture, like film, it's an art form. We're in these spaces that make us feel things, and it's beautiful on the outside, beautiful on the inside. Art and creating that's that big, like a film or a building, takes a lot of collaboration. You work with the people that you love to work with. You're going to spend a lot of time with them. You don't want to be with people who you might be fighting with. When you find the people that you get along with, you take them with you again and again and again, and it makes for a better next building, a better next movie. So it's Hollywood has like a spotlight on it, And we look at like, what are they doing there? And it's, you know, if you look at everywhere and places where you might work, you might see, you know, similar things, and you see the positive, you know, outcomes of bringing those teams together. It's not just the actors. You know, you might see this, some of the same actors work together a lot, but behind the scenes, you'll also see the same camera team. You know, there's a DP who has multiple camera operators, and each camera operator has a camera assistant, and each camera assistant has a second assistant, and all those people are also working together to make things more and more interesting each time.
This is also a pretty interesting one. Can you talk about a time when your support system in the industry helped you navigate a particularly challenging project or period in your career? Or just in general, like, are there ever projects where either one of you gets back home incredibly exhausted, like it's a very challenging, like it was a very challenging maybe role, or the shooting was very challenging, and you sort of, you know, seek support from one another? Like, how does that work?
This kind of goes back to what you said earlier, like with the, you know, does it help to have somebody in the industry that you're married to, because you can understand sort of the weird situations you end up in, like I have to be gone for a month. Okay. But, you know, the project that I worked on recently, Give Me an A, is a great example of people leaning all over each other. Like everybody's leaning on a friend, because in the United States, Roe versus Wade was overturned, which protected abortion rights in the United States. And what that sort of indicated for us in the United States was sort of pulling back rights for women and anyone with a uterus to have bodily autonomy. So for us to make a movie that we thought was important to make, we had to help each other, because we didn't have time to raise money. We didn't have time to find a production company to help us. We all made phone calls to each other and said, can you do this for free? Can you do this for free? Can we get a favor? Can you help us? Can you give us a discount? We think this is important. We have something we want to say as women, and can we get all the help we can get? And there were enough people that understood that that was important to us, that they helped us. I think this is a little different than the question you were asking, but in the end, there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who all helped each other. And it was it was very emotional, because at the same time we were feeling like we were losing some of our rights, and that's an emotional hit to take also. So there's already an emotion happening, and you're trying to do something hard that requires you to not sleep very much and to start filming very quickly. And everybody leaned on each other, from the people who had the lights, to the people that had the cameras, to the people who gave us the huge trucks that you need to carry all of that equipment around. Everyone, to the people who were performing. All the performers agreed to perform, you know, without payment, without immediate payment. And that's a lot of leaning that isn't just emotional and physical, but also, you know, took a hit to people's making money during that time. They weren't making money, they were instead giving to make this film. So there's one example.
Sorry, is there anything you'd like to add, Sean?
Well, I mean, I remember that time for Natasha as well. Like it's very, working on a project like that is very trying. And I know that there's times in my career when I lean on people constantly. You lean on your support system for things, and everything's always, you know, our business is always, you're always getting caught with a stray punch from somewhere. Like there's always some project that the rug gets pulled out from under, or a role you thought you had that all of a sudden you don't. That just happens, and it's part of the industry. Or a movie you think is about to get made, and then all of a sudden the director gets suddenly fired out of nowhere. You know, it happens, and you need to be able. We know that we can rely on each other for things like that, but you know, it happens. It's part of it.
Natasha, what is your favorite project that Sean has been in? For you personally. And I'll just ask the same question for Sean.
I mean, It's really hard. There are so many projects, but it's hard not to say the last Guardians of the Galaxy movie, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I had a really special view on that film. I didn't ever get to go to set because it was filmed during COVID, and that was really sad. Because it's really cool to see the sets that the Guardian sets. They're 2 stories tall. They're everything's built and looks real. The cities look real. It's not all just CGI. The stunts are really done. You know, it's like really, really cool stuff to see. So I didn't get to see that, but what I did get to see was some of the performances that Sean does that we don't get to see on the screen in the end as, oh no, you guys, I'm gonna cry. As Rocket, your performance as Kraglin is also awesome. But watching Sean really be Rocket and seeing his face before Rocket is drawn in and have the emotions that Rocket has in that movie, there are a lot of emotions going on if you've seen it. And seeing the cuts of the film before the CG is on and before Rocket is added and seeing Sean perform that was so breathtaking.
You basically get a chance to see 2, well, not completely different characters, but like visually completely different characters, right? In a sense.
Yes, and then seeing it at the premiere the first time and seeing that there were more people that came together to create that character that drew Rocket to match the performance I had seen was also so emotional because you could see that, you know, Sean was part of that character, that like Steph Soretti, who does all the special effects and everything, you know, he was a part of that character, that every person that drew every piece to match Sean's performance was there. Obviously, the voice of the character. There's so many things that come together, and so then to see it from that point of view was also, you know, just as emotional. But really cool to see the work that Sean does as Rocket is really serious acting that not very many people get to see except the editors and James, and I got lucky to see some of it too.
Sean, and what is your favorite project that Natasha has starred in?
I think, well, you know, the movie she was just talking about, Give Me an A, I think is the most impressive thing she's done pretty clearly. But my favorite is a couple of her, like, smaller, she did this web series called After Ray that I think is terrific. And also I love Don't Go Outside, which is just a little teeny tiny short she made with a crew of 1 herself and a cast of 1 herself that she made out in the desert during COVID, and it's just like this wonderful little. It's like a what do you call those things? Like it's like a perfect little candy or something like that. It's wonderful.
It was Sean went to go work on Thor, and I took the cats. The cats and I went out to the desert, and we brought a Super 8 camera, an old camera, you know, and the cats helped.
Some said your movie was better, so I don't listen to critics. Go on.
So you've both provided examples where the creative output is, where you focus on the creative output. But was there ever a project where, let's say, how do I phrase this correctly? Like, let's say, Sean, is there ever a project that Natasha is working on where you're happy that she's working on the project just because she comes back home very happy and just very, very light and just, you know, not nervous for anything? Or,
you know, I think you would probably say this too, is that for both of us, it's working at all that makes us happy. So we both love to work. And so like, even just both, for either one of us, when we're going to work every day is happier than when we're not, certainly. But, you know.
You know, we just had a year off.
Right.
Sort of, because we were on strike. In the United States, the Screen Actors Guild, we were both union members, we were both on strike, we were both on the picket lines. You'd think like, oh great, a year off. Like you can go, we live near the ocean. You can go sea kayaking. You can hang out with your cats, since that apparently is all you guys want to do. It's true. It's all we want to do. Hang out with our cats. You can go on vacation, whatever. It was so sad to not be able to work. It was also sad and emotional because we were fighting for, everyone to have the things they need when they're working. But that's a sad time. We're happy when we're working. Having a year off is terrible.
So I guess you've both probably sort of outlined the answer to this question, but just to close it off, what's the most important thing for both of you in acting? A very simple question. Like a super general one.
In acting?
Yeah, in acting, yeah. Because the second part of the question written down here is, Sean has openly defended actors' rights during the SAG-AFTRA strike. Yeah. Now that the agreement has been reached, how do you feel about it? So you can also expand that. Yeah.
Well, I took the first part of the question to be more of a sort of general artistic thing, which is that the most important thing for me about acting is truthfully communicating my experience with human beings and with what people are like. But in the business side of it, it's always just it's fairness. It's like the same thing as it is in any community, whether it's whether it's a country or a corporation. You want justice, and you want equality, and you want fairness, and that's really what we were fighting for when we went on strike. Is we don't, no one's entitled to get rich off of anything, but they are entitled to an equitable share of something that's profitable. And we had it was worth striking for that. And I think time will tell how successful the New Deal was. I don't really know yet. I mean, I know that we got a lot of what we asked for, and I know that the unions would love it if we all said, we won, we got everything we asked for. I don't know for sure that we did. I know that it's better than it was, and time will tell. The one thing that we could use a lot more of is the people at the top who are really getting just filthy rich, just ridiculously, the billionaires and the almost billionaires who are at the top. They need to be more equitable with the people at the bottom. They will always step on the backs of labor every chance they get. They will always squeeze the juice from labor as much as they can. And that's why we have to always fight against that, and we have to work together to make sure that we're getting our fair share.
Yeah, I think, something I said earlier is that, there's always a spotlight on the entertainment industry, like a magnifying glass. And the strike that we just went through is only a mirror or similar to, I think, a lot of the inequity that is happening around the world in many industries. And we can see the gap grow bigger and bigger between people who have a lot of money and everyone else. And so when, one of the things we would say when we would go out on the picket line, it's not just, we're doing this for the entertainment industry and for actors. There's so many different types of actors. I feel like everybody knows this now. Like, there are so many people that are sleeping on couches at their friend's house so that they can act. Like, it's not all glamorous, and even the glamorous part is a show. The red carpet, it's a show. The fancy clothes, it's a show. They get taken away at the end of the day. They don't go home with people. It's all part of it's a show. But we have to say, you can't do this here, so that everybody else can say, you also can't do it here. You can't do it in this industry either. You can't do it to everyone. Like, we all have to be, the entertainment industry has to be representing more than just the entertainment industry. We have to show the world that we can all stand up for the things that we should have rights to. And the wealth gap around the world is the inequity. It's not okay. People who are really, really rich and worked hard for it, they deserve to be really, really rich. They work really, really hard. The people at the top of the entertainment industry that run the companies, they deserve to make a lot of money. Not that much more money. It's too much more money. It's okay, they do a harder job than me. They can make more money. Not that much more. It's not fair, and it's not fair to take from the very bottom all the little last pieces just so that somebody at the top can have more yachts than they need. So that's also why it's really, really important. We're just here to sort of show everybody can do this, even if it's hard. We all have to stand up for ourselves and for our rights.
Do we have any round of applause? Do we have any questions from the audience? We have a microphone, I believe, over there. If you want, yeah, just go up to the microphone. You can ask any question.
Hi, Mr. Sean Gunn. First of all, I really appreciate the M of Doom shirt. Very cool. But yeah, I have a very important question to ask you. I did ask ChatGPT whether you shared your views on this topic, and apparently you have, and it's not surprising, I guess. But anyway, let's see if the ChatGPT is correct. No, but yeah, just which Rory's boyfriend was the best?
Which what? Which?
Rory's boyfriend.
Oh, which of Rory? Well, I am very firmly team Rory doesn't need a man to define her. But I probably like Logan the best.
Yeah, please, sure.
Yeah, so you've been married for some years now, and I know you said that you try not to bring your work home, but Sean has some unique experience of playing non-human creature characters like Rocket and the Weasel. So my question to you, have those creatures ever come out at home or the bedroom?
Or bedroom? Did you say or bedroom? Oh, good Lord. We'd get some Weasel. Have you written some Weasel fan fiction that I don't want to know about? Happily, I tend to leave the animals on set, I think.
Yeah, the animals stay on set, but I would say we talk to our cats.
Yeah, the animals in the bedroom are our cats. They're sleeping on the bed.
Yes, please, another question.
Hello, Sean. I would like to ask, when they approach you with this Guardians of the Galaxy gig and they are told you that you're going to play a raccoon, how do you approach this thing? Because you understand that we won't see your face, the audience won't see your face, so it's probably different acting because it's an animal. So how do you approach this motion capture?
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, that really came up organically. So what happened was on the first movie, which is now, 11 years ago that we shot, Guardians 1, my brother James knew that he wanted an actor that he knew and trusted to play Rocket on set because they hadn't cast the voice yet. So they weren't quite sure how he was going to sound, although he had some notion of it. But what we knew was that we didn't want the other actors to be looking at a blank space or at a tennis ball on a stick, that he knew that he really needed Rocket to be personalized for the other actors. And so he asked me to do it. He said, I want you to play Rocket, but I don't know how we're going to do it yet. I don't know if you're going to have a microphone and we're going to do it. There are different things we could try. And we tried one or two that really didn't work. But what did work was when we were rehearsing one of the scenes, I got down on my hands and knees, used some of the work that I remembered from drama school back when I was in acting school and learned how to play an animal, but also just made sure that my eyes were in the right spot. And from that position, I'm fortunate that I'm very flexible, or at least I was 11 years ago when we started, and started doing it from right there, just playing the role from the ground, and that's what worked best. So we just didn't mess with it. So for 6 movies, the process became very specific, and what really worked for the first movie kept working, and that's why when Avengers came around, Kevin Feige was like, "Hey, this is Rocket's got a role in these in Infinity War and Endgame. We don't want to do a new system. We don't want to hire a new person and mess with. We don't want to mess with how the sausages are made, to coin a phrase, but or to use a phrase. But so we just kept it, and that's how it ended up working. Over the years, it got physically much more difficult for me, and that's why I think I'm retired now from playing Rocket. But it was fun while it lasted.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, I wanted to say, during this weekend there is being held a folklore festival, and there's also a folk art and culinary heritage fair. Would you be interested into checking it out when you have your time?
A culinary fair? Is that what you said?
A folklore festival, there will be also culinary heritage in the fair.
Culinary heritage. That sounds lovely. I would if I had more time, but I don't know if we'll be able to check it out. But that sounds great.
Yeah,
Sounds incredible.
It's called Skamba Kankli.
Okay. I'm going to keep my eye out for that.
Do we have any other questions? Oh, yeah, we have a long line. Sure, please.
Hi, Justina here. First of all, happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
And since we are on topic of marriage, I wanted to ask both of you, who made the first move and what was it?
Yeah, I should have started with that question.
What was it? Well, I kissed you. We went out. We were having drinks, and we were pretending we were friends, and knew that. And I had a crazy crush on her, so I just like. When we get to know you better, we'll let you know a little more.
We'll tell you the whole story. I can tell you that, I mentioned we were both working, we were in a different city, and we met. And the moment I met Sean, after we talked very quickly, I thought to myself, oh, wow, like, I'm going to know this person the rest of my life. I just made, like, a new good friend. And my brain just, I don't know, because I was working, I was in a different city, I was in a different mode. My brain didn't, like, access the part of the brain that understands, like, oh, I'm really into this person. Instead, I was just like, I just made a new friend I'm gonna know forever. And a few weeks later, we had spent some more time together with groups of friends, and then it became obvious. It was like, oh, the whole part of me that thinks I'm gonna be friends with this person forever is the part of me that's like, ooh, hi.
Thank you for the question.
Thank
you for the question. Any other questions? Please.
Yeah. Hi, Sean. Hi, Natasha.
Hi.
Simple question, I guess, sort of. Have either of you ever liberated anything as a gift from a set for the other?
Can you please repeat the question?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Have either of you ever liberated or borrowed, per se, anything as a gift from one of your sets for the other one?
Yeah. Go ahead.
No,
Yeah,
but I can tell you I was just on a set that I can't talk about, and there were some pencils with the name of the company of the place in the fictitious world that were just on the desks. And I can't even tell you, every time I walked by, I almost put it in my pocket. But I was like, they might need this pencil again for another I didn't take one. They were very cool.
I get nervous, particularly on the Marvel movies, because Disney, like, I don't want to get hit with a poison dart, because I stole something from set. I steal socks. That's my big secret. If the socks on set are nicer than the ones I wore to set, I just wear the nicer ones home. But other than that, no, I haven't. I'll steal you something from the next thing I do, babe.
All right, thank you.
I can tell you, the photos are taken of every single spot on set between a lot of the camera setups. There's a person whose job it is to take photos of everything to make sure it's in the exact same spot.
For continuity, right? Or
For continuity, and so people like me don't steal the pencils.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for the question. Any others? No. Okay. So then thank you everyone for coming. Thank you to my lovely guests. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Natasha. It was a very delightful chit chat. Thank you,
you.
everyone. Round of
Thank you,
applause.
guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it.